Welcome back to Watches Oliver Smith. In this episode, we're going to talk about Heuer watches. I have a little trouble with that, so I have to think about it a little bit. But first, we want to talk about what we're wearing today. And today I have on one of my favorite watches from, I think it's about 2006.
Correct. Yeah.
It's the IWC Cousteau
edition.
Down below the date and day window, there's a Cousteau Divers in orange. And the reason I like this watch so much is I like watches that are easy to read.
Mm-hmm.
I like diver watches because it reminds me of the sea.
Correct.
And I really,
avid surfer.
Having grown up and outside of Philadelphia and spending my time at the Jersey Shore, I really loved getting into the ocean, and I never had a watch that could sustain that type of beating that I would take sailing and surfing and swimming. So the cool thing about this watch too is Cousteau was a TV personality with a great French accent that talked about the ocean, preserving the ocean, right? And
this is pre-Discovery Channel, guys. There was nothing like it on television.
And he was doing this all from a boat called the Calypso. And on the back of this watch is the teak wood from the deck of the Calypso.
Yep. They were doing a restoration and they had some wood, so the IWC did a limited edition with the extra wood.
The tribute to the Calypso. So this is a really neat piece. I really enjoy wearing it.
The way that thing lights up is fantastic.
It still has great lume. And one of the things we were discussing earlier was that these watches from like 1995 to 2007, in that era, are not really considered old enough from a collector standpoint. This watch can probably be bought for $5,000 to $6,000.
Correct. Yeah.
And I think that's a great buy.
A lot of watch for the money.
This style will start to fade, and it'll be a great looking watch. So
absolutely.
These watches are available online. You can check them out in a lot of different sources. So it's a great watch to go after. They made this watch year after year, different dials.
They still make it now. Yeah, they still make versions of it. Yeah.
Right.
The Aqua Timer. So, it's a huge version of what IWC does. It's their dive watch.
Yeah. What about you, George? What are you wearing
today? I am wearing my PAM 183. For those of you who follow us on Instagram, I did a little story on this. We're kind of going through the whole staff on what's your favorite watch and why, and this is by far my favorite watch in my personal collection. I got this from a local PGA Tour professional who will remain nameless, but he is sponsored by Rolex. So he had a safe full of these great Panerai that he hadn't been able to wear. So he came in, we struck up a deal, and coincidentally, I had been in the market for a PAM 183. And when this walked in from him, it was a match made in heaven, and it went home with me. Thank you, Oliver.
It's a great, iconic Panerai dial, too.
Yeah, just time-only seconds, sandwich
read,
dial.
Right?
It really ticks a lot of the classic Panerai boxes for me.
And this is a new bracelet, that strap that you have on there.
Correct. The original one, it was on the original strap, which is kind of this really light tan affair, and I kept it in the box to preserve it.
It wasn't tailored enough for George, if you know what I mean. He likes things a lot more buttoned down.
Well, and I didn't want to put wear on the original strap. I wanted to keep that really pristine. It's so nerdy of me, but I like that.
Yeah.
And so I got this one I can wear, and I can always put that one back on later if I need to.
Well, tell us about the watches you're going to show us today, George.
So today we have a story of the Heuer Chronograph. These are three really cool examples, and they're from a similar era, the late 60s into the early 70s, and they kind of tell a story of the evolution of the Heuer Chronograph. Starting with the one you have there, that is a reference 2446C. This is about 1968, and you have a 3-register chronograph with a GMT.
Great panda dial on
Great panda dial. It's got a great look. It's got that patina, it's got that fade, but this houses the Valjoux 724, if I'm not incorrect, but it still has some lume on it.
Right, it looks pretty, correct when it comes to the dial and the hands and all that.
Correct, yeah. It is on a modern Everest strap, but the head is good. The head is exactly what I like to see. And this one here is an early manual wind chronograph. So for those of you who don't know, there were chronographs before 1969 were all manual wind. You had to physically wind them. There was no winding mechanism in there for automatic until 69.
Got it.
And that leads us into this guy here.
Just on this for a second, this Octavia, tell us about that, the history of
Well,
Didn't they do a lot of stopwatches for vehicles
correct,
and
yeah.
other things?
Heuer, and specifically Jacques Heuer, designed chronographs for aviation and for motor racing. Heuer was a great fan of car racing, and he would do the in-dash chronographs for that. And that became these wrist chronographs that were used by, Joe Seaver, like the coolest guys in the 70s wore these watches. Guys who went fast and lived dangerously wore these watches.
And the dial, the stopwatches are mounted in cars now, because we had a client who came in with one last week, a double stopwatch mounting, and wanted to get it serviced from Ben, and he's putting it in his 911, I think?
He's putting in his vintage 911, yeah. He also collects vintage Heuers, and actually he was the one who taught me a lot about this stuff too, so it's going to be a great look when it's finished. It's a great project, so I can't wait to see that in the dash.
That's neat.
Or on the dash, if you
So the second one here is, tell us about that.
Second one here is a Hoya Octavia, and this actually has one of the very, very first automatic chronographs in it. And this is easily identifiable because the crown is on the opposite side. Due to construction, the sandwich construction of the movement, the crown had to be put onto the opposite side. You'll see these a lot around there. It was a collaborative effort between 3 very big brands, but that's for a different video. This specific one is a Viceroy. And this is a collaboration you would never see today. This watch in 71-ish retailed for right around $300. But if you sent in 10 proofs of purchase from Viceroy cigarettes, you could get this for $199. So a fascinating collaboration that you'd never see today.
Don't steal my old cigarette packs.
Well, and the ironic part is that the guy who probably got the 10 is not around to see the watch anymore. Then moving forward, you have a little bit more modern. Again, this is a Hoya Camaro, and I'm in love with the dial on this one. This dial used to be a kind of a parchment cream with a blue.
Camaro.
And
it's actually written on there, right?
Correct. Yeah. Again, that automotive back and forth between Heuer and the automotive.
I don't think I've ever seen a Camaro.
You don't see them very often. It was a little smaller for the time. This would have been the dressier version of the Octavias, something maybe to slip under a sleeve. But this actually has the Valjoux 7734 movement in it. So this, you're having an automatic movement, but a little bit more accessible one.
And it looks like the buckle also has the logo.
Correct.
So it
Strap
looks like it's
probably isn't original on this one, but it feels very good on this piece. Original buckle, original dial, patinaed the way I really like it.
Wow,
so.
Really great patina on that piece. So what kind of price points do these all fall into?
These, depending on condition, you can get anywhere from $3,000. This one would actually be the most expensive. They didn't make a lot of them and a lot more complicated. So these can go anywhere from $8,000 up to $15,000, depending on condition.
And that's been kind of a recent phenomenon.
Correct. Steel vintage chronographs have been a huge collectible for years. But you get something like a Daytona, and you're looking at 20, 30, 40,000s up to the sky's the limit. And this was a little bit more accessible. What I like about these a lot too is you don't expect to see these in like sock drawer condition. These were regular guys doing regular stuff, wearing their watch.
Yeah, this
so condition-wise, you expect to see some wear and tear, and I like that. The watches have lived a life; they've seen some stuff, and I think it shows in the it shows in the watch.
Well, thanks a lot, George. This is a great representation of what you spend your day doing. So thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Don't forget
Oliver Smith.
Subscribe and hit that notification button.
Thanks,
guys.